Welcome to Board Ghost, a story broadcast with games as the engine.
If living is a highway, then heaven is a bus stop. Been waiting for a minute there, but has it been forever? 'Cause dying don't agree with me. No.
What exactly do we do here on Board Ghost, and how should you listen to it? This is a little intro episode as we hit our close to 3 years and 150 episodes and 75 something stories. We wanted to give people a way to listen, a little primer on the show. We don't totally recommend going back to the beginning, so we just wanted to let everyone know, hey, there's a bunch of different ways you can listen to us, and why should you listen to us? So here you go. One, right off the bat, what do we do here? We play tabletop role-playing games. So you may be familiar with Dungeons and Dragons, the role-playing where players take on the role of adventurers and one player takes on the role of a dungeon master who sort of rules the world and runs the world while the adventurers make choices and go through their quests, and you roll dice and take on the persona of that character. And the conflicts in Dungeons and Dragons are overcome with a combination of this player ingenuity and rolling dice against the abilities of their character and the abilities of the threat level of the thing that they're encountering. So what we do here is different. We kind of strip away a lot of the, or we seek out games rather that strip away a lot of the mechanical parts that require dice and abilities and even sometimes mostly a game master, and are built to tell you a story. And these are called story games. They're tabletop role-playing games, but they're often more story-oriented, so they can be called story games. They're sort of a subsection of role-playing games, and they emphasize storytelling and character interaction, and they downplay character stats and dice rolling. So the conflict resolution mechanics of these games are there to complicate the story and push the players to explain the positive or negative outcomes as they pertain to the story. And it's not the goal to be the best adventurer or level up. The goal is usually just to tell the best story with your friends. And often that means your characters are going to have terrible ends, and that's okay too. So our stories are told using these story games, and we try to remove the mechanics where possible. So mostly you're just hearing the resulting tale. We aren't so much an instructional how to play podcast, but we do have primers to give you a sense of here's how this game plays and what it intends to do, because the different games we play give you different experiences. Board Ghost started in 2016, and the goal was exploring and bringing exposure to these story games. They're often independently published, and also to give us players a reason to just get to the table and consistently play and work our way through all these awesome games. As we play, we've gotten stronger with our play and have had the opportunity to introduce dozens of guest players to the game. So we've had, upwards of 50 players over the course of 3 times that many episodes. 76 plus stories, 150 episodes. How should you listen to Board Ghost? Right off the bat, know that Board Ghost doesn't require linear listening from the first episode to the latest. Really, the goal of the show is also making standalone stories, so they're contained in mostly a couple episodes. So if you go through, you'll see usually a part 1 and a part 2, and if you want to listen to those 2 parts, you can check out the website or check out the show notes or the game, and I'll go into that a little more specifically, but really there are a few ways to listen. So here's how you should listen. One way you can do it, start with the game supplements. We've played more than 20 games so far. Each game has its own structure and tone in its stories. You can listen to these supplement episodes that give you a brief overview of how we play. And if one of them catches your eye, oh, I like this, catches your fancy, you can seek out those stories that we use to tell those tales, those games specifically. And those episodes are tagged by game on the website and in iTunes. So in our show notes, it should be tagged. Another way to listen is start with recent episodes from the past year. So again, we started in spring 2016, and this series, it was an experiment on multiple levels. We keep pushing and testing. Through trial and error, we've gotten better at playing games, recording the games, and editing the shows. So the earliest episodes are worth listening to, but they're a bit of a bigger hurdle with more structural elements still in flux. For instance, just the basics of not playing the entire theme song all the way through, not being so aggressive with our editing, and just kind of going for cleaner sound. Also, again, getting stronger players. Some of the games we play early on, like Ribbon Drive, that's a really great game, but it requires really listening to a music playlist while you listen to it. So it's a little more of a hurdle once you're jumping in within those first dozen episodes to listen to a Ribbon Drive episode. So maybe getting used to the play styles, what story games are, could be a better way to go, especially starting with some of the games in the past year or so. So there are stories there. Another way to listen to is go to the website, go to our first listening page at boardghost.com, and you can see sort of a curated handful of episodes that'll kind of ease you into the show. These are picks with a few different tones and flavors that'll give you a sense of like kind of funny stuff, some weird stuff that has a little more sound design, and a few different games that we really like. So yeah, there you go. Why did we start Board Ghost? Broadly, again, to make something entertaining and a little educational, but not necessarily instructional, to expose people to the games. So offer examples of play for games that are more niche than D&D, and maybe not niche, but just not as well known and should be well known. I can't tell you how many times I've had people say, "Ooh, Fiasco! I've heard of it. I've always wanted to play it," and you don't have 2 to 3 hours to sit down and just play it with them, but you want to. It's a great game. It's built to just like pick up and go, and we hope that we can be a way of getting comfortable with how these games play and encourage people to just jump in and try stuff. Again, we not every experiment, not every story is 100% successful, and that's okay too. So just listen to us play, listen to us sometimes stumble. You can listen to how creative we can be and all think about, oh, I would have gone a different way with that. There are all kinds of interesting things that you can learn by listening to people play. So secondarily, we wanted to explore storytelling using the structure of different rule sets. Since we strip away the mechanics from the edit, when we also kind of seek out games where the mechanics aren't going to be in the way and too intrusive anyways. But the goal of a lot of these mechanics is to help you tell a specific kind of story. They're there to just sort of prop up the actual story. They're just the internal framework. They don't become the tension point. They don't become the narrative source and the narrative focus, these mechanics. They just help you get to those things. And again, each game plays in different ways. And then selfishly, of course, we wanted to play more games. I personally have always been more of a reader slash imaginer and drawer than a player. So I'll sit there and draw characters and make characters and read the rule books, etc. And that means stacks of RPGs without time and other players just sitting on my shelf. So for me, having a structure that makes us get something to the table at least a couple times a month helps bridge that gap between reader and player. And again, I hope that the other hurdle of going from a reader to player is just becoming comfortable with the act of making up scenes and taking on these characters and just like stretching that creative muscle that, again, these games give you a lot of help in doing. And so that's the selfish thing, and I hope that the game can give you that too. What else? We are on all the social medias. We have a Facebook page, we have a Twitter, we have a Patreon. All that stuff is on the website. So if you go to boardghost.com, you can learn more about all that good stuff. But yeah, thanks for listening. Again, Pat Couples did our theme song and interlude music. You can find more about Pat at patcouples.tumblr.com or on his band's website, hotelsandhighways.com. And you can find more about the show at boardghost.com. So get over there and listen. Also, when you're listening, let us know what you think. Reach out to the people who make these games too. They're fantastic games, and you should give them a try. Go out and learn about them after hearing us play. And we'll try to point you to those people too. By the time I'm recording this, we're getting into starting to interview some of these designers ourselves. And we've had some of them on to play. And that's really fantastic for us to share time playing with people who are in the design space as well. But yeah, thanks for listening, and I hope you enjoyed listening to Board Ghost.
Don't agree with me.